You know the haughtiness of news, like how they start acting like it's not a television show. You're not just doing a television show. You're not church. Dum, dum, dum,
yes,
dum,
I'm highly familiar with that.
This is the actual news we're doing here. The news. Oh, thanks for curating some sets of convenient information and telling me it in a pompous and condescending fashion. Appreciate it. Of course, we pay a licence fee in our country, so it's our taxpayers' money. So, because it was the BBC in particular. So I went on this thing called Newsnight to promote a book that I'd written called Revolution, in which I put forward sets of ideas that I had heard that might be a way of reasonably challenging systemic biases and authoritative structures that will never benefit ordinary working people. It's about 10 years ago, I think. I went on this show Newsnight, and the anchor, Jeremy Paxman, who's actually a very good journalist, and sort of he's one of them. He's a bit like, again, like you've become sort of an archetype in a way, although albeit a very new and wonderful perspective. Like Jeremy Paxman is one of them. He takes down politicians, no, Home Secretary, when did you receive the dossier? He was that kind of person, like saying the same question again and shouting them down, your sort of gear. I came on his show, and he was like, you said it's not worth voting, right? And this was like a heresy. I said, yeah, where I come from, people don't vote because they think whichever party gets into power, ultimately ordinary people will suffer the same plight because the political system has been co-opted by corporate interests. And if you try to galvan us by saying that these small differences are really valuable, I find that offensive and insulting. And you, Jeremy, of all people who have sat year after year talking to these politicians, should know better than to deploy the kind of rhetorical tricks that they use in order to shame me because I am despondent about a system that does not deliver real change to the people that deserve it most, regardless of their culture or their race. Let's talk about the one unaddressed area of inequality: class, wealth. Let's start talking about that, because that affects people of all races and religions and classes and persuasions and forms of sexual and identity expression. How come that never ends up on the conversation? How come we're doubling down on division all the time? Anyway, so I said that kind of stuff to him. I wouldn't have talked about the culture stuff then, because it wouldn't have been relevant then, but I thought I'd slip it in now, because it seemed germane, Tucker. Anyway, guess who was most nasty to me as a result of that?
Who?
The liberal establishment, The Guardian. How dare you? They took a photograph of me, they took a photo and they had lots of space above my head, which is a semiotic trick to diminish people, so always check the images, Tucker. If they ever say you're Time Man of the Year, make sure you check the frame before they take the photo. Because if there's a lot of space and then the word time, Tucker Carlson's our Man of the Year, then they're taking the piss. They're doing it to undermine you. Check the camera. So anyway, they did that, and there was just lots of sneering and contempt, and who does he think he is? And what it amounted to, I think, was a kind of condescension about how dare this person, this entertainer, and I think, there were literally derisory comments about my accent, what you'll be oblivious to on account of the fact that it's all English people saying the sound to you.
But you don't have a posh accent.
I don't have a posh accent. Same way all American people ultimately sound the same to me, unless it's like deep south or Boston or something. Anyway, so there was a lot of condescension and stuff. And what I've come to realise is that there has been this fetishisation of small differences because the liberal establishment has become co-opted by the same financial and military interests that have always been associated with the right in the ordinary liberal or even radical perspective of the political landscape. And if anyone points that out, they don't like it, particularly if people point out that there is a different way of organising reality, particularly when people say stuff like, oh, you don't like this monster that free market capitalism has become, this ghastly Frankenstein that can't really legitimately be called free market economics, particularly after 2008, but I'm sure there are many, many, many more examples of it than that, that if you criticise that model, what do people say? Oh, so are you a communist then? Like it's a binary choice. There is a glorious pantheon of opportunity. There are many ways that systems might be organised. And all I'm trying to talk about is ways of eliminating centralised power, whether it's corporate or state, and having a bit of faith in people to organise their own communities and organise their own lives. And it seems to me that the price tag on that might be people are different from one another, so even your most heartfelt views might not suit other people.
Right.
Are you willing to accept that? Are you willing to go that the price of your views on the most hot button topics of American cultural life might not apply to other people? If you're willing to say, yeah, you do what you want over there, we've voted, and this is what we're going to do over here, that's the end of the story. I don't know.
Well, that would be
right.
democracy.
That would
right?
be. That's what I was describing. I didn't want to say the word. I didn't know what the perspective was on here. But for the record. Pro democracy. Can I write that? Didn't bring a pen. You know, and these are the kind of conversations that I've always been interested in having, and in a spirit, if I may say, of investigation and acceptance that I don't know everything, and that you know things that I don't know, and you've had experiences that I won't understand. But this is most important of all, that I know that you will have experienced suffering and pain, that if I were able to share it with you, I would love you. And I would forgive you, and I hope that you would find the same forgiveness from me. And from this place of vulnerability, we can cultivate something together that we cannot cultivate when my only interest is saying, I don't agree with Tucker Carlson on issues that in particular around, I suppose, immigration or possibly race or possibly identity issues. These are conversations that could go on forever and ever. And I don't imagine I'm going to be the person that's going to persuade you to believe in things differently or look at things differently, and I would never make that claim. I would accept that you have the right to see the world how you see the world, and if I'm allowed to live how I want to live and you're allowed to live how you want to live, I don't see why we need to create cultural tension that just leads to more centralisation of authority, more censorship, more surveillance.
Well, but that's why, though, of course, is to lead to more centralisation, is to empower the people currently in charge. I mean, this is not organic.
It's not organic. As they say in the spaces that I move in, it's not a bug, it's a feature.
Yes.
And one of the great concerns that I currently have is when you have an economic system and a globalist corporate structure that plainly benefits, observably and financially in the case of the pandemic, from crisis, what induction is there to not live in perpetual crisis? If the military-industrial complex benefits from perpetual war, if the pharmaceutical industry benefits from perpetual illness, if energy companies continue to profit in a time of energy crisis, why are they going to participate in the reorganisation of a system that is beneficial for them? The system is working for them. The people that say that the system doesn't need to change are benefiting from it staying the same way. And the voices that question it and critique it are dismissed, smeared, drowned out continually. And this is something that I think can only end with the type of alliances that we are hopefully trying to cultivate, and with the acceptance that you have just outlined, that it is beneficial for them to have people mired in cultural argument, which to the people involved directly are very significant, and I would not seek to undermine the importance of people that are directly involved in those struggles, the same way as I won't be dismissive about the civil rights struggles of the 60s. But if we, to the exclusion of all else, focus on that, centralised power likes it fine. If you see the most powerful organisations in the world willing to adopt the logos of those movements, it suggests to me that they are not going to interrupt the trajectory of their intentions significantly.
That is true. If Apple's on board, it's not really a revolution, is it?
I don't think Apple wants to radically alter society. Well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to be taking a lot of Apple's money so that people elsewhere can live through it. Oh, no, I don't, what? Right, Facebook, we're demonopolising that. Oh, no, wait. Couldn't we just focus a bit more on, oh, shit.